from the News Channel 5 network. This is Open Line.
Well, welcome in, everybody. Let me lower my chair here for the camera. Hi, Rhori Johnston with you on News Channel 5 Plus. We're live here on a Thursday night, and a really interesting topic, a timely topic, and we hope you will join in. We talked a little bit about it during our newscast earlier over on News Channel 5. We're going to be talking about same-sex marriage legislation because there was a big landmark move, I should say, on Capitol Hill in Washington today, the passage of a big bill. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, in general, issues facing the LGBTQ plus community in Nashville, the trans community. There are a lot of issues, and hopefully we can share some opinions, and really this is just about educating, okay? We want you to call in with your comments and questions. Hope you have a lot of questions. We're just looking for a civil discussion, which is lacking these days, and it's kind of sad. But we're so pleased to have Jace Wilder with us from the Tennessee Equality Project. Jace, again, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. We're going to talk a little bit about the Tennessee Equality Project. Our good friend Chris Sanders is usually here, so we appreciate it. 737+ is the phone number. We'll dive into all of this stuff, and we always kind of start our first segment a little broadly to remind you about our guest and what organization they are with, and that again is the Tennessee Equality Project. So I'll throw that softball out. Tell us about the Tennessee Equality Project.
Yeah, so Tennessee Equality Project, and you'll probably hear me refer to ourselves as TEP because it saves a lot of breath.
Right?
But my name is Jace, and I've been with the Tennessee Equality Project for about 2 or 3 years now. I am the education manager for them. They work specifically in LGBTQ advocacy, specifically up at our Capitol Hill here in Tennessee, and trying to give voice to LGBTQ individuals in the state of Tennessee on issues. They first were founded in the late 90s, looking at issues around same-sex marriage that we'll be talking about tonight as well in the state. But now has obviously expanded to all issues regarding LGBTQ individuals in the state.
When you say give voice to individuals, what do you mean as far as advocacy?
Yeah, so whether it's by giving the opportunity for people to be able to learn and be educated about how to advocate for themselves, how to advocate for loved ones, or also giving them the opportunity to come with us to Capitol Hill and learn how to advocate on that forefront as well.
So a lot of work lobbying our state lawmakers. We know it's a super majority of Republicans, and a lot, you know, look, every political party has more moderate and more conservative members, but I think it's safe to say here in Tennessee it is definitely on the conservative side. How difficult is that? And I've heard Chris and others talk, and other issues that may not jive with lawmakers in our state, the majority of lawmakers, and yet, and this is some positive news, and I hope it's true, that still you are welcomed and they listen. They may not get to the point of agreeing and passing legislation that you're looking for, but is there at least that dialogue?
Absolutely, and it's probably one of the reasons why I keep coming back is because of the fact that even though there may be sometimes resistance to what we're talking about or defense, but there's also a lot of times where they are still open for conversation and for questions as well, where this may be the first time that they've met a trans person and I'm an openly transgender man, and so giving them that opportunity to be able to talk with me and ask questions one-on-one to better understand the trans community from my perspective, but also the fact that they do give me that space as well, like that they allow me to sit down in their office and ask those questions. Just
a matter of basic human respect,
absolutely,
right, to start with. I mean, it's a starting point. Being in a group that we can safely say has been marginalized. There's a lot of political debate. There's religious and moral issues. There's so much going on, even in 2022. What do you think about the political climate, or just the climate in general, Tennessee and beyond? And, you know, it just seems like, you know, we've all kind of gone into our tribes.
Yeah, so this is where I pull out my political science degree for a moment from Belmont. My professor had introduced us to this wonderful statistic that stayed in my brain forever, because he pointed out that what we hear is 20% of each side. That the 20% that are the loudest on each side are the ones that hold the microphone and get to set the stage. There's a whole other 80% on each side that are perfectly able to and willing to have those strong and more difficult conversations and really get into the nuance, but we get stuck in those two areas.
I agree, and our viewers may disagree with me, and I have a number of friends and family, even our viewers, who just get so upset and concerned about the climate right now in the country, because you hear national news outlets especially always saying we're divided and we're split, and you see these very close elections. My viewpoint, I go out and encounter and interact with so many people, and Tennessee, we're such a diverse community. I know people say we're a blue city and a red state. I really believe, and maybe I'm being an idealist, that the country as a whole, I think we're way more purple than we give credit. Like you said, I think that the folks who, and everyone has a right to be where, if you want to be on the far right, you want to be on the far left and fight like heck for what you believe in, well, that's what this is all about. I just think that they're the loud voices, like you said, very loud, but still, I think the majority of people are reasonable. They understand how government works. They understand there's compromise. They understand that our society some people want it to go faster, progress, and others want it to slow down. But it does change. I mean, there were presidents just as recently in the last couple of decades who said, no, marriage is between a man and a woman. And our viewpoints change and grow and whatnot. Now, that's good to hear. How do we get that message out?
I think it's more of, and this is a difficulty that I can admit that I have stepped into as well, which is we tend to come into conversations on defense already because we see our morals and our values. It's human nature, right? Yeah, exactly. We want to defend our morals and defend our values. And whenever the political environment has been framed in this way, where you have to pick one side or the other and you have to fully be there, then it already creates that tension before someone even walks into the room, and they have to make an assumption. It's that internal instinct to, go into defense. And so we need to back up and allow ourselves to walk into the room, and before we get into that defense, allow for someone to speak their mind and give them that, I know that this has been kind of a phrase that has been kind of sparked as, controversial in itself, but give everyone that safe space to have those conversations. And TEP, what we do to try and do that is first, again, like we said, talk with those legislators one-on-one, but also we offer education courses, stuff like that. Like I teach what I call Trans 101, which is actually just going through the basics of what it means to be trans and some misconceptions or words that maybe you heard back in the 90s but are no longer appropriate, things like that, from the perspective of a trans person. And I give room for people to ask questions, both one-on-one, in a class environment, whatever they feel is going to be helpful to them and the people around them.
And it's about understanding, and you may still be totally opposed or against certain lifestyles, certain decisions based on whether it's your religion, whether it's your family history, whatever it is, you have that right. But again, the first step is just being able to listen, ask some questions, being respectful. You may still, not agree at all, but it means a lot. It means a lot to you, I'm sure.
Yes.
Just for, you're not going to try to hammer people and get, just listen. Just listen. Let's have a discussion, and then that's just a baby step. At least it opens the door.
I mean, one of my favorite examples of this, honestly, is really hammering in on that respect aspect. Was we decided, me and Chris Sanders went to the Matt Walsh rally at the very beginning just to try and make sure that people were safe.
This was the conservative Matt Walsh was the
conservative reporter,
radio
yes.
host who who started the about Vanderbilt. Okay,
yes,
which we'll get into.
And he held a rally with some of the state legislators attending as well. That was to try and ban what they were calling genital mutilation, but is actually formally recognized as just gender-affirming care. And of course, there was a lot of opposition. There were some folks that showed up early and that were on that opposition side to what I would consider, and I hate even saying it this way, but my side of, as a trans person, fighting for gender-affirming care. And there were some folks that let me know that, hey, this person's already shouting, this person already has questions, and they're coming up, and we don't want to answer them. This is too much. And I went up to her, and I started saying, like, hey, how can I help you? Like, I am a trans person, and I'm okay with having this conversation. What can we talk about today? And she started giving me some questions, and what I ended up finding out by the end of the conversation was she didn't agree with what was going on either side of the rally, that she actually was in the middle of, again, that 80% that doesn't get a voice, but wasn't sure because she had not heard the other side, so she just had to pick one.
And do you think that there's also a certain fear, an anxiety of the unknown?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, and it's one of the biggest things.
Someone who's so different, and why would you, who's lived a life maybe as just a heterosexual, what they say, normal, which, and now look at you, and I don't understand, why would you make such a decision?
Yeah, and I feel like that even proves some of the points even more of, you can't understand because you've never experienced that distress or discomfort that I've experienced. And that should be proof enough to you that this is a real thing that occurs for many people in America and throughout the entire world. It is not just a Western phenomenon. It happens everywhere. Some of the first records in 200 AD about transgender individuals, but again, politically, this has always been kind of something that's been tossed around. It's just that now we do have more voice altogether.
Jace Wilder is our guest tonight as we tackle, a touchy subject for some of you, but we got to get a discussion going here. If you have questions or comments, be sure to call in. We're going to take a break. We're also going to talk with Jace. Mentioned in October, you wrote an op-ed that the Tennessean printed, and I didn't print it out. If you have time, Google Jace Wilder, Tennessean, it'll come up, and take a look at it. And there was one line that I glanced at, and I want to talk to you about it. You said that gender-affirming care saved your life.
Yes, absolutely.
Pretty dramatic. I want to hear a little bit of that, and then we'll go into the topics of the day, what happened in Washington, and more. Open Line coming right back.